Guys, we are live. We are officially live. Are you excited for this match? I certainly am. This is going to be incredible. What I want to find out in this match is how good Rafa Jodar really is. Because even though he played FIS in Barcelona, this will certainly be the ultimate test from several standpoints. Technical, physical, and most importantly, mental. He will never have faced this level before. So let's see how he does. Let's see how good he really is. Lucy, hi. Lucy here with us for the stream. Hopefully Simone will join later. Have a feeling this is going to be a three-setter. I don't know about that. My gut feeling is straight sets for Yannick. Battle of head speed MP, absolutely. It's a fantastic racket. I tested it in my racket testing phase. Couldn't quite control it. Great racket, powerful. If you have this proper swing path, it responds quite well to spin, but something about that racket, it felt like a catapult to me. I couldn't control it. Guys, one sec, I'll be right back. Lucy, you were on stream by yourself. 82 people in here. That's awesome, guys. I know I didn't go for that. I went to get my phone. I want to be able to track the stats. I don't know. It's a complex setup, okay? I'm still figuring out live streaming. I'm in the process of creating a more professional looking live stream. You know, I'm not ready yet. Hopefully I'm going to be ready this week. Certainly, I plan to continue to do this and continue to get better as I'm doing this. But first and foremost is the tennis, you know? We got to focus on the tennis. I'm very excited about this match. We've seen a lot of great matches yesterday. But I want to use this opportunity to complain a little bit, okay? I know this is not a Monday morning rant, but I don't understand these two-week masters, the way they're set up. First and foremost, let's not even talk about the tournament ending in the middle of the week. That we'll get that after Wimbledon with the Canada Masters. But what I don't understand, the tournament is so stretched out. Why did I play all the round of 16 matches on the men's yesterday? Why not split it up in 2 days like they do in other tournaments? I know some other tournaments do that as well, but yesterday was just way too many matches and so many great matches that unfortunately a lot of people missed. Because when you have too many matches going on, you know, people don't get to watch all of them. Obviously, I think it's better if you have this time available, this longer format, to stretch it out so that people can enjoy the matches. I also found it really weird that they scheduled, in my opinion, two of the favorites to win the tournament, FIS and Sinner, to play at the exact same time, like first thing in the morning. So I'm sure pretty much everyone missed the Sinner and FIS match and watched it on replay because it was on so early. I think it was like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Eastern time. So that was pretty crazy. So anyway, now that they got the 4th round done, now it's going to be like a sparse schedule where there's not going to be that many matches. If you're not a fan of the WTA and you only watch ATP, you don't have that many matches to watch. So what ends up happening is that they start showing a lot of doubles and stuff like that. So I'm not a big fan of the 2-week Masters for many reasons. First and foremost, I don't think the players like it. They're at the tournament forever. I think they are fit enough to play matches on consecutive days. Of course, sometimes when you have a 4-hour 3-set match or a 3.5-hour 3-set match, you might be dead the next day, right? So that can certainly happen, but these players are at the highest level from an endurance standpoint, and they train their entire life to be able to play on consecutive days. And I think something like Monte Carlo is absolutely perfect for the Masters level. Jodar serving first. And Sinner right away putting a lot of pressure on Jodar. Very deep forehand. Jodar dumps the forehand to the net, love 15. And a shank from Yannick. Could have been a bad bounce. Very solid rally from Jodar, 15-all. Jodar keeping his box slim. Only see his dad in there. There's that forehand down the line. I think I can already say Jodar has one of the best forehands down the line on tour right now. Because, see, a lot of players, when they go down the line, they straighten the ball out. Jodar doesn't. It's like a Rafa, Nadal down the line forehand. It has so much margin, and he doesn't miss that shot very often, which normally is a low percentage shot. Big wide serve, 40-15. What a start from Jodar. This is incredible. You're playing the #1 player in the world and you're this rock solid to begin with, you know, in center court in front of a packed crowd with pressure. Great sign from a mental standpoint, because the first game can be nerve-wracking. But this was exceptional from Jodar. Sinner is playing his younger version. For sure, a lot of similarities between these two guys. I would say, apart from the physical similarities, of course, the technique is never 100% identical. I mean, I've done so many videos on pro technique, and I always quote Boris Becker, who said that you look at the top 100 forehands in the world, you're going to see 100 different forehands. So some similarities with technique, but most importantly, demeanor, I think it's very similar. And Sinner misses that. It was hard to see. Pretty much an open court forehand. Misses it a little bit wide, love 15. When Darren Cahill stands up, you know Sinner is in trouble. So look for that. When Darren's sitting down, it's probably okay for Yannick, but when he starts standing up, that's when Yannick is in a little bit of a slump. Kick second serve. Jodar overcooks a backhand return, 15-all. Hey, Forever 25. I know you said yesterday you had to work. You can watch it on replay. Glad you joined, though. Incredible court coverage from Jodar. Big first serve from Jannik. Out wide, opens up the court. Jodar is running and plays such exceptional defense. See that backhand on the run? A lot of players would have tried to slice that, but he managed to put two hands on that ball. That's what I find so important defensively. To be able to hit two-handed backhands solidly from very defensive position is to me a very important sign on the ATP Tour. And Jodar has that for sure. Jannik with a beautiful cross-court backhand drop shot off a big first serve, 30-all. I do think Jannik's feel was off yesterday against Norrie. He wasn't hitting his drop shots well, but he's definitely trusting that shot more. He's using it more and more. And I think it complements his very aggressive style. I think the drop shot is a very important shot in the modern game. Greetings from Poland. How you doing? Hope Iga finds her form in this clay court season. Big tee blast from center, 40-30. Hi Nick, I asked you about footwork last stream and you emphasized the importance of being ready for the next shot. Played today and did much better, especially on the volleys. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, that's so crucial. The readiness, what I call the electricity, and the intensity. That's going to be key for your development. Double fault center deuce. There's a great lesson with Shamir on explosiveness and readiness. You can type it in Intuitive Tennis Shamir explosiveness. You'll find it. It's a great lesson. We talk about stationary intensity because at the rec level, a lot of times, you know, players do well when they're moving after a ball, but when the ball's coming right to them, they equate that with having not to move and they lose all their intensity. So even when you don't have to move that much, you still have to have intensity. First serve miss from Jannik. And a solid second serve. Jodar misses a return. Add in. Jannik is at 33% so far. Not serving well right now, but we've learned with Sinner that he can find his serve in a match, especially when it gets really tight. And ace Sinner holds 1-all. What do you think about Servara coaching Hubi? That's the former coach of Medvedev, right? I think it's great. Sometimes when you switch a coach and give you a boost, you know, some new, fresh perspective on things can surely motivate. But other times, you know, constantly switching coaches can backfire as well. So it's hard to say. Not saying that Hubi is constantly switching coaches, just generally speaking. Jannik Sinner with the forehand down the line winner. Love 15. I think key for Jodar once the ball's in play, a neutral rally, is that he plays very aggressive and that he opens up the court, because when Sinner doesn't have to move that much, it's going to be very difficult. Like, that was way better. Even though he hit that ball central, might have been a bad bounce there. Jannik mishit the ball. He opened the court up and made Jannik hit on the run. And that's not easy either, because Jannik is so unbelievable on the run. But that's what you got to do. There's no other way to play against Jannik other than being aggressive. No chance. That's a good point from Jodar. Exactly correct way to play. Big T serve, huge forehand to the backhand corner, but then misses a relatively easy volley. And, you know, transitional volleys are a very common problem for young players. I'll never forget the volley that Zverev missed against Nadal in Indian Wells on match point in the third set was very similar to the one that Jodar missed there, the transitional forehand volley. And a very solid backhand cross-court to save break point. That type of volley has to be practiced, and it's a very specific technique. If you guys struggle with that shot, just type in intuitive tennis. Transitional volley, there's a great lesson with Shamir again, where we work on that shot. You have to make sure that you don't stomp into it, that you transition through it, keep your technique clean and tidy. But yeah, young players often struggle with that shot. Jodar misses a forehand into the net after a very solid rally. See, the tricky thing with Jodar is that while he can create a lot of damage with his forehand, I think when he's making mistakes, more mistakes come off the forehand side. I think that's generally true with a lot of players because they take more risk with the forehand a lot of times. But even in a neutral position, I still think the forehand makes a few more errors from Jodar. In my analysis video from a couple of weeks ago, I said that Jodar is still developing his feel just based on what I saw in Morocco and Barcelona. But in this tournament, that forehand drop shot is starting to look a lot better. So I might have to correct that statement a little bit. His feel is a lot better than I thought it was. A beautiful forehand dropper to save break point, 40-all. And again, Jodar overcooks a forehand cross court, sprays it wide. Another break point for Jannik. Hi, Ahmed. How you doing? You guys hear sound? Sound's coming through on my end. Al, 1976, you hear no sound? Guys, confirm in the chat whether you hear sound or not. Okay, good. All right, thanks, guys. Okay, most people hear, some people can't hear. I don't get it. All right, thanks, Forever 25. Well, yeah, you just hear my voice. I can't play the sound of the match, obviously. It's going to get taken down. So you'll just have to watch it by yourself with the sound, and then if you want to listen to my commentary, maybe you can find the match more enjoyable. You guys see that rally? You see how heavy that forehand is from Jodar? Very different from other players. Very different to Alcaraz even. I know Alcaraz has this forehand, but Alcaraz will straighten his out a lot. This is very much a Rafa Nadal type forehand. It's heavy and it's got more shape to it. And it's very difficult to handle. He put Yannick under a tremendous amount of pressure there. Add in. And there's Yannick with the dropper. Doesn't hit it well, misses it wide. Jodar holds, 2-1. Yannick still is working on his drop shots. And the question arises whether, he should use it as much as he does. Like I said before, it is a phenomenal shot, but I've always believed that it's best used seldomly. Now, of course, some players use it a lot more, like Bublik and Alcaraz, but generally speaking, and I'm even going to apply this to Yannick, when you have this power game, I wish that he was more sporadic with the dropper. I do think that he overuses it a little bit too much because he is so rock solid from the baseline. He doesn't commit a lot of mistakes, but there are quite a few misses with the drop shot and mistakes with the drop shot. So even though everyone praises these drop shots and him widening his repertoire, I agree. But still, the drop shot, in this particular instance, he's game point down on Jodar serve. He tries to hit one from the baseline inside out. That's a poor shot selection. So I would use it more in his own service games. When he's under control of the rally, when the guy's, pushed way too far back, and just be a little bit more sporadic with it. Without a doubt, Sinner, Alcaraz, and Jodar are the new big three. Let's wait. If Jodar is able to beat Sinner in this match, we have to make a video on that and discuss the situation. That certainly would be something, but that doesn't mean, even then, even if Jodar wins this whole tournament, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have the new big three. We'd have to go one step at a time. See how he does best of 5. We don't know. I'm sure he's going to do well. Body serve Sinner. Jodar gets jammed. Overhits the return, 15 love. Big hitting from Yannick. Jodar under a tremendous amount of distress. 30 love. Overcooks a backhand from a defensive position. Humongous return from Jodar from off the doubles alley, right down the center. Center can't handle it. 30-15. Hello from Germany. Hallo. Wie geht's? I think he needs to win a couple of slams before he can be considered big three. Yeah, 100%. Exactly. And T-ace from Sinner, 40-15. Sinner sprays a forehand off a huge serve, 40-30. I always say Sinner has the best forehand in the world, and people are so confused in my comment sections. But based on shot quality, During the clay court season, it was Alcaraz actually #1, but Sinner consistently #1 in shot quality, forehand and backhand. But similar to Jodar, he can produce some mistakes off that side every now and then. Sinner sprays a backhand long off a cat and mouse style point where he hit a drop shot. Jodar with buttery soft hands hit it cross court, and Sinner just pushed on the ball a little too much, sprayed it long. Deuce. There's a mini window right here for Jodar. Shank winner from Sinner, inside out. He did not hit that clean at all. Hit a great backhand cross court, but again, that defensive backhand from Jodar is phenomenal. Phenomenal. That's a very, very, very important shot, because think about it. Which side a player is going to attack? They're going to mostly attack the backhand side. Of course, they're going to attack the forehand too, but most players defensively will have some holes on the backhand side. And the players who can... What a heavy forehand. There's that down the line short one. Forehand is so unbelievably heavy from Jodar, especially when it goes cross court. As I've said in the last live stream, forehand down the line off a low half court shot, incredible. But back to defensive backhands, the players that don't have that weakness, Sinner, Alcaraz, they have a humongous advantage. And what I'm seeing from Jodar so far, he is so good defensively. And even on the backhand side, that's a great sign for the future. Compared to Fonseca, I can't say the same thing about Fonseca. Fonseca has a hole on the backhand side defensively, and overall defensively, not as strong. Absolutely blasted the forehand, Jodar, and set it up with the incredible down the line backhand. Break chance, Jodar. Overpowered Sinner in that rally, no doubt about that. 175 kilometers an hour winner. Hit that forehand so freely and straighten it out too, Alcaraz style. Incredible. Second serve. Sinner saves the break point with some very aggressive hitting. Deuce. Jodar is so mentally tough. He appears to be. It's too early to say, of course. We have to see him come back in a match where he's down. We need to see him in a third set tiebreak. We need to see him in a best-of-5 match. It's too early to say all that, but what we've seen so far has been extremely good from a mental standpoint, no doubt about it. Big serve from Yannick down the tee. Jodar sprays a return long. This is a very common question. How will Jodar fare on different surfaces? I think on hard court, it's going to be very similar to clay. The only question mark is grass. But, with the way the grass is nowadays, I don't think there are too many players who just can't play on grass at all, like it was back in the day, where the clay court specialists wouldn't even show up in Wimbledon, and if they did, they couldn't even win a set in Wimbledon, because back in those days you had to serve and volley. It impossible to have baseline rallies because the bounce is so low. It's not the case anymore. So I think Jodar on all surfaces is going to be a threat. Overhead miss from center, deuce. Grass is the only question mark. I should have looked up his Wimbledon record in juniors. If anybody in the chat can look up Jodar's Wimbledon record in juniors, I can look it up myself. That would be a clue to how he will do in a grass court season. Yeah, Jannik didn't move his feet on that overhead at all. It's the thing about an overhead. Even the ones where you're like, don't have to move that much, you have to move that much because that high ball is so unpredictable. You have to keep your feet moving like crazy. And, you know, with the lights on a stadium court like that, it can be very difficult when the ball is very high. Long rally and a rare backhand miss from Jodar. Add in. So I looked it up. Jodar made the quarters in Wimbledon in juniors in 2024. Lost to Honda from Japan, 4-4. So we don't know about grass. We don't know about grass, but hard court. Oh yeah, Almondo, you looked it up too. Quarterfinals. Yeah. Hard court, he's going to be good. He's going to be very good on hard court. Great second serve from center. Hold 2-all. That was a very difficult service game for Jannik. How do you, as a recreational player who is a defensive player from the baseline, start playing more at the net? When I need to close the net to finish the point off, most of the time I make an error. You got to put a tremendous amount of time into working on your volley technique, fix technical flaws. That's number one. Back in the day when I used to teach ladies teams, they all wanted to work on tactics and win matches in doubles, but they all lacked technique in general, and especially volley technique. And so what tactics are you going to utilize if you don't fix your technique first? So technique first, then movement, because movement is the most important thing on the volley, especially transitional movement forward. And Jodar overcooks a forehand, love 15. Once you start putting in all the reps, you know, thousands, tens of thousands of reps, correct reps, now you're going to start seeing results at the net. But if you have the deficiencies and, you know, you try to come to the net, you're going to make a mess of volleys. There's no quick fix. You have to put in a lot of work. Wasn't really happy with his performance against Norrie. Yeah, that was not a good performance from Jannik in the second set, for sure. But he made it through, and he's here with a chance to improve his performance, which I think he will have to, for sure, because Jodar is playing well. Another forehand miss from Jodar. Love 30. Like I said, that side can produce errors, and especially when he tries to straighten the ball out a little bit. When he goes heavy, he is unlikely to miss it for sure. Hitting volleys against the wall is good practice. Yes, it's phenomenal practice to strengthen the forearm, but it's not the ultimate practice. The volley can get quite complex. So you could make 100 volleys in a row on the wall or reflex volley with someone 100 times, no problem. Then you try to volley a ground stroke and you can't make a single volley. It gets quite complex. Aggressive ball from Jannik. Maybe a bad bounce because Jodar framed it and it was kind of jammed. And shanks a backhand wide, love 43, break points Jannik center. Jodar has to be careful here because when the best server on tour, the guy with the best hold game, goes up a break on you, you are in a tremendous amount of trouble. So he needs to fight to get this game right here. Big serve out wide, 15-30. Another big serve out wide. Jannik overcooks a return, 30-40, 2 break points saved. And there's the trademark two-handed backhand slide, open stance from very far away from the double zelly from Jannik Sinner. What I was talking about earlier, defensive backhand, Sinner and Alcaraz are so much above everyone else on tour, with the exception of Djokovic. He has the same qualities, of course, as Sinner and Alcaraz defensively on the backhand. But that shot is incredible because Jodar did everything right, but just wasn't quite good enough, unfortunately. Hit an incredible cross-court backhand, but Sinner slides into it, outside the double zelly, hits a clean two-handed backhand down the line. Winner gets the break, 3-2. Nick, how's the crowd? I don't know. I'm not listening today because there's commentary. In the previous 2 live streams that I did, there was no commentary, and I could listen to the match. So you guys got to keep me posted how the crowd is. But there was a question here. Oh, yeah. Do you think Zverev has a good chance at Roland Garros now that Alcaraz is out, or maybe even Djokovic? Yeah. I did a whole segment in one of my recent videos on that. I think it was not my last video, but the one before that. It's a huge opportunity for a lot of guys. But depending on where Djokovic ends up with the seeding, if he happens to hold the 3rd seed, which I think he will, because there's quite a bit of point difference. But anyway, if Djokovic ends up being drawn on the bottom with Zverev, as opposed to the top with Sinner, that can make the tournament so interesting because we might get Djokovic-Zverev semifinal instead of Djokovic-Sinner semifinal that we had so many times. I personally would prefer to see Djokovic on the bottom half of the draw. And it's a huge opportunity for Zverev, but he has to be the favorite to make the final. He's played a fantastic season so far. A lot of people troll and call him the semifinal king and all that, but he's been very consistent. Hasn't played perfect tennis. I think he can even play better. But nobody else, with the exception of Djokovic, Alcaraz, and Sinner, has been as consistent as Zverev on tour. So I'm looking for him to do a lot of damage at Roland Garros, but no predictions yet. We have to wait for Rome to end and the draw to come out and all that. Sinner with the forehand swing volley. Winner, 15-love. A shot that's getting more common on the ATP Tour. Didn't used to be like that. It was mostly a WTA shot, but now I'm seeing more and more players do forehand swing volleys. First serve miss, second serve. Sinner makes a mess out of a short backhand. I wonder if it was a bad bounce. Let's see if he tries to correct the clay. Maybe it wasn't. Wish we can see slow-mo on that one, but he really slapped that backhand, it seemed like, and hit it way out. Very interesting shot. Maybe it was so low, he didn't bend enough, which is weird to say for Sinner. He could have possibly sliced it instead. Would have been the better option. They didn't show the slow-mo, so I can't tell you exactly what happened there. But for sure, an uncharacteristic mistake. Follows it up with a big T blast, another forehand swing volley, and then an attempt at an angled forehand volley, but he doesn't hit it right there. He meant to hit that with a more sharper angle and a sharper trajectory. Jodar almost got to that one, but in any case, he didn't. 30-15. 320 are watching. That's good. We had 680 in here during the Monte Carlo final, but that's Sinner and Alcaraz. It's hard to match the excitement of Sinner and Alcaraz. Inside and forehand Jodar winner, 30-all. Speaking of which, what's a good drill for swing volleys? You know, I actually don't think I have a video on that. There's a few shots that I still haven't covered in 8 years, and I plan to. Half volley, I did cover it kind of in a video, but I'm going to do a few more technical videos. I mean, not a few more, I'm going to continue to do them for many years, but a few topics that I haven't touched upon, and swing volley is going to be one of them. 30-all. Second serve. Sinner misses a forehand. He's mimicking something to the box. 30-40, break point Jodar. Again, second consecutive service game from Sinner with a break point. Incredible. Big wide serve from Jannik, but then a forehand. It looked a little bit tight to me, I'll be honest. That forehand from Jannik didn't look free, but hits it good enough, kind of central. Jodar overcooks a forehand. What do you think about the fact that Jodar's team is just his father and not even a tennis player? I love that part, and it makes me think even higher of Jodar's chances in the future. I'm not a big fan of juniors with huge entourages, and not that he's a junior now, but I'll explain on a next changeover, just remind me. We'll talk about Jodar's box on the next changeover. Sinner is very fortunate to get that point. A very poor forehand drop shot that hits the service line. Again, as I've said earlier, I don't like when Jannik Sinner overuses the drop shot. When you have the best forehand in the world and you're doing too many drop shots, it's not good. But he does showcase his hands there by hitting a beautiful two-handed topspin lob from close to the net. Not an easy shot, but that forehand dropper is still a work in progress. And pull it out at deuce, I don't know about that. Pull it out at 40 love, or you know, like at a moment that's less important. That's when you pull them out, practice them in a match, I guess. But he still holds with an ace up 4-2. Ayush, I'm not hating on him. I'm not mad at him. Just providing a critique. It can't all be praise. When I see something that's in my opinion suboptimal, I have to point it out. As crazy as this is going to sound, the game of tennis, there's always something you can do a little bit better, and that applies even to the best player in the world. And the fantastic return right down the middle, Djokovic style, of a big Jodar serve, love 15. And I think that's... Oh, you talking about somebody else? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I thought you were talking to me. I'm not reading the entire chat, but the forehand net error from Jodar. He does miss quite a few of those into the net, I noticed. Can't really tell you why. I would need to see slow-mo footage. But back to the constant improvement that tennis requires. This is what makes tennis so incredibly difficult, that even the best player in the world, Sinner, still can improve and is still making mistakes. The game is very complex and requires consistent work and improvement. Big return from Sinner there. Possible bad bounce. Jodar didn't hit that forehand clean. Sprays it wide, low 40. Now Jodar got to be careful because Jannik could have possibly been a little bit tight early in this match. There is some evidence to suggest that. Maybe that can explain some of these poor drop shots. From a field perspective, they're just going so long. But when Jannik opens up his game, it can be a blowout. Another shank from Jodar. Jannik is starting to open up his game. Hitting harder, longer, double break center 5-2. Is it pronounced Jodar or Hoda? You know, it's so difficult to pronounce it with the real dialect or accent. You know, it's a lot easier for everyone to just kind of not Americanize, but like to use the English version of names. I think that's why you see countries have English versions of names. For example, Croatia, where I'm from, it's not called Croatia, it's called Hrvatska. But you try to say that, and you're not going to say it correctly, no matter how much you try. So this whole pronunciation thing, you know, of course, I certainly try to pronounce as good as I can, but if I don't speak the language of the name that I'm pronouncing, very little chances of me getting it actually right, even though I'm trying my hardest. So, and perfect example is Alcaraz. Of course, it's not pronounced Alcaraz, but I think when you try to do it with the right dialect, you start sounding weird, you know, and people get turned off to that. So I think like the English versions of names makes it easier for everyone. And you'll see that even players, when they do their little recording of their name on ATP.com and WT.com, some of them will actually say their name wrong on purpose in the English way to make it easier for people. Not all of them. A lot of them say it in the proper dialect. So in any case, we can certainly try to pronounce as good as we can. Nick, Jodar team reminder. Let's do it after the set, okay? Remind me again. I do want to mention a few things about the team because I don't want to be misunderstood. The team is very important, but it's quite nuanced. So let me touch upon that after the first set is over. 5-2 center, double break. Center overcooks a forehand after a big wide serve, love 15. Yeah, Sinner is actually pronounced Zinna, and with the German, of course, Zinna, with a Z, Zinna. Big serve, another forehand net error from Jodar. Yeah, Jodar for sure missing more forehands into the net in this match. Maybe it has to do with the opponent. It's really hard to say. A beautiful slice ace from Sinner, 30-15. Another almost net error from Jodar. This time off an easy ball. He had plenty of time to set up. It was a defensive shot from Sinner, and ball clipped the net, went wide. 40-15. A lot of great questions, guys, here. I'm gonna get into them in a second. But first, once the set's over, let me get into the team thing. This match was tight. Now all of a sudden it's 5-2. Yeah, it changed suddenly. It was incredibly tight in the beginning. I agree. And now it's like Sinner steamrolling. Another net error. The forehand. That's very strange. Set 6-2 Sinner. A little bit of a drop off from Jodar in the last few games, no doubt about it. And of course, Sinner upped his game, for sure. I feel like once he got out of those tight service games, he started playing a little bit more freely. But Jodar weak mentally. Okay, you got to stop. You got to stop, because like prior to losing the set, Jodar was the greatest ever mentally and the new member of the big three. So it's tennis, guys. Tennis is very difficult. But back to the team thing. I live in the tennis mecca of junior tennis, which is Southeast Florida, more specifically Palm Beach County, and the city that's actually the junior tennis mecca is Boca Raton. And I've been here now for 20 years, and one thing that's a negative for me that I see is that, first and foremost, kids get homeschooled when they really don't have to be homeschooled. See, I'm going to dedicate an entire video to this. It's going to be part 2 of my tips with tennis parents video that I did 6-7 years ago. And you should get homeschooled when you're playing international tournaments and you have to travel. If you're playing level 6 or level 7 on the weekend, there's no need for you to be homeschooled. You can go to school. So that's number one. Number two, once these kids are homeschooled, they start getting a full team, like Sinner. Okay, they got a fitness person, they got a coach, of course, sometimes a couple of coaches, but they got a fitness person, they got a coach. Sometimes they go to take mental training. So they start getting, I don't know about physio, I haven't seen that, but I'm sure some of them have that too. So it's already like a professional looking setup, and I think it's just overkill, and it's too much. And when you grow up like that, when you develop like that, it kind of takes a lot of the growth, the important development that you have to go through, and takes your independence away a little bit, and ultimately develops you into a player with some suboptimal characteristics from a mental standpoint. I'm going to go into more depth when I make that video, but seeing a pro player with a small box, it's not a negative thing to me. But don't misunderstand me. I do think having a team is incredibly important, especially having a physio, having a fitness coach is important. But when the team gets too big, don't think that's necessarily a good thing. Great start from Jodar. He needs to have a good hold right here. First game of the second, and that was an excellent point. The one thing that makes no sense to me is having two coaches. Unless these coaches are on the same page about everything in tennis, which is nearly impossible. And that's also a tip for any of you guys. Having multiple coaches is not going to help you. It's going to complicate everything. Ace, down the T, Jodar, 30 love. Yannick just finds a way through as usual. He's a mental monster. 100% agree. Yannick is incredibly good mentally. Why did Alcaraz have two coaches? Well, look, when one is not available and the other one goes, that's different. I mean, Nadal had that too. And maybe at some point, they're both there and maybe only one is in charge. I don't really know how it works, but imagine having two coaches and they're both coaching you. It just makes no sense. Unless they're on the same page 100%, which is probably a little bit easier to do at this level. But at the rec level or at the junior level, when you're still developing, you have fundamental flaws, you have two coaches telling you two different things. How can that be good? Forehand error from Jodar. 30-15. It seems to me that Rafa's serve is a little bit too soft to trouble Sinner. Yeah, that's what I said in my initial analysis on Jodar, I feel like even though he can serve fast, no doubt about it, the serve, even when it's fast, it's not all about speed. See, I feel like the serve needs to win him a few more free points, to really get to this level. Like right there, 30-all, he hit a big one out wide. If you can do that more and develop maybe better placement, hit closer to the line, I think there's still some room for improvement on his serve, even though he's got an exceptional serve already. It's very good, especially the kick serve is very good. But I feel like the serve can be a little bit better. 40-30. And a very strong hold from Jodar. Toughs out a rally. Jannik misses the forehand long, holds 1-love. Jannik is not truly bothered by big serves with his elite return. Yeah, I agree, especially when he stands further back, when he's not timing his return, like he did in Miami. You guys remember that? He was standing all the way at the back fence, and then in Monte Carlo too, he was standing at the back fence. He's not standing as far back in this tournament, but Sinner is an incredible returner, best returner in the world. Is Sinner better than peak level Federer? No answer. We're not going to do that one. I've done that one too many times. No comparisons between Sinner and Alcaraz and the big three. Other than to say that you shouldn't make the claim that they're better. I will say that one, because it's too early to say that. We have to wait. Big serve, ace, Sinner, 15-love. $30-love, big serve, and a forehand down the line winner from Sinner. Sinner finished set one with 66%, 66 for first serve percentage, which is a good number for Jannik. I feel like when he's above 65, is good. But even Jannik, even below 50, he can still win. He's proven that many times. But when he gets closer to 70 and he's serving aggressively, that's when it becomes unbreakable. Sinner showcasing his feel. I was critical of the Sinner drop shot. And maybe, like I said before, it was connected to a little bit of tightness, which even the great Jannik Sinner can experience on a match court. But this particular rally featured a shot that I just made a reel about on Instagram. I said, practice the short, low backhand slice. Not a drop shot, but not a normal slice, like the one that lands around the service line or a little bit shorter. And it's very low. You bring the opponent in. Jannik hit that and then hit another one that was even shorter cross-court. So there he showed exceptional feel. And his slice backhand truly has gotten a lot better. 40-love. A couple of really nice shots from both guys. First and foremost, huge serve from Sinner, return blast from Jodar, and Sinner does one of these half volleys from the baseline with two hands and places it so incredibly well. But then Jodar on the run forehand cross-court winner. Wow, It's a phenomenal point. 40-15. Huge T blast from center, holds 1-all. How much do professionals use mental coaching? See, the thing about coaching at that level, it's mostly mental. So these coaches that you see on tour, it's almost like they're therapists a lot of times. That's the main part of the work. A lot of people think it's technique, tactics. No. It's getting the player in the right state of mind so that the player can access their best tennis. That's the main role of a coach. And these coaches on tour are really good at this because most of them lived it. Jodar with Netzroller. Let court winner off the backhand, 15 love. You know, most of these coaches lived it as players, but even if they haven't been on tour, if they've been around tennis their whole life, they can become quite good at coaching in this sense if they coached a lot of players. So that's the most important thing. And then comes the technique, then comes the tactics and so on and so forth. But mental is the most important thing. Now, does someone need the actual real mental help from a doctor or from a therapist? I can't tell you that. Maybe some of them do, I don't know. And Sinner with the shot where I made a reel a while back. Don't do this shot, which is a forehand slice. But this time he hit it as an approach shot. He got there too late, hit it quite well, and Jodar running two in a backhand pass, cross-court miss. But Sinner there had no other choice but to slice it, and he sliced it quite well. But yes, I'm not a big fan of a forehand slice. Unless it's Tatiana Maria, who's always done that. That's different. But if you were a normal forehand player and then you start slicing the forehand, it's a very bad sign. Interesting error from Sinner off a kick serve, dumps a forehand into the net. 30-15. Strong starts. Most wins for the first 25 matches. Jodar better than anyone. 17. This means he's going to have better career than Nadal and Djokovic and Federer. Not a big fan of these stats. They're completely meaningless. I mean, not completely meaningless. It means Jodar is a great player, but you know, it's so hard to make these comparisons, guys. So it's best not to make them and just take it as it is. Jodar, is that it? Manoliner, how you doing? I remember you from yesterday. I think you're from Spain. Jodar, is that right? See, I can't do it even if I try, and then I sound stupid. Oh, that's it? Jodar. But see, when I say it like that, it just doesn't sound right. You know, it's like, I don't know. I'll try my best. But anyway, nice hold from Rafa, 2-1. Let me get into one more question that I saw here. Hold on, guys. Oh, here. It's a bit random, Nick, but who do you think had more pure talent? Nick Kyrgios, who could just show up after a night out and win, or Federer's elegance? You know, it's so funny you bring that up. Because I made a whole video about this, because talent comes in many different ways on the tennis court. And the great Nikki Pilic, rest in peace, talked about this in regards to Novak. And if you take 10 components that make a player and you put in there focus, technique, speed, you know, reflexes, will to win, and I made a whole video about this. You can type in intuitive tennis, the biggest tennis secret, which is not a secret at all. It was kind of like a play on words title. But in any case, there are many components to a player. Let's say there are 10 components. And the best players max out on all 10. They got a 10 out of 10 on all of them. That's like the big three, or Sinner and Alcaraz. And everybody else might be like an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 on some of the other ones. So if you take Nick Kyrgios, he's not even close to being 10 out of 10 on all the 10 components. Like focus, he's not even close to 10 out of 10. Will to win, also he's not. So talent comes in many different ways, and some of it is, you know, intuitive, like you're born with it, and some of it is something that you can work on, but it gets quite complex. So the talent level from Federer is way above the talent level of Nick Kyrgios. If you're talking about pure talent, what everybody can see, that's different. You're seeing the athleticism, you're seeing the strokes, but what you can't see is what's in here, right? And that can be talent too, the talent to work hard and stuff like that. So it gets quite complicated, you know? I can't see it. Did it go over? It didn't. Big serving from Yannick. 30 love. Yannick dumps a forward into the net. Very interesting. 30-15. There's Feliciano Lopez, always dressed nice. Tournament director. I love watching him play. He was one of my favorite players to watch. Love lefties in general. First serve long from Yannick, second serve. There's another drop shot. This time backhand cross-court drop shot. Let me just make one distinction with Yannick Sinner's drop shots. Like, there's a big difference between a forehand drop shot and a backhand drop shot. The forehand drop shot is a lot more difficult to pull off for most players. Like, of course, not for Carlitos and for Bublik. You know, that's different. These guys are geniuses with the forehand drop shot. But for most players, the backhand drop shot is a little bit more natural. Main reason is you're in your natural grip. If you're a two-handed backhand player, you can stay in a continental grip. Forehand, you have to change the grip and so forth. So I don't mind if Yannick does more frequent drop shots on the backhand side, but I would be more cautious with forehand drop shots. You know, big blast down the tee and another swing volley. That shot he's utilizing more and more, and it's very effective. Hold Yannick 2-all. Hello, Carlos from Brazil. How are you? Hope you're doing okay. Fonseca, he's going to be okay. He's got Rome next week. I think he's going to be okay. I did a video on Fonseca. My message to Fonseca fans, not that you're necessarily a Fonseca fan just because you're from Brazil, but check my video out if you haven't yet. I dedicated a video to Fonseca, not a whole video, but a segment of a video to Fonseca fans 2 days ago. And, you know, I was speaking of the forehand drop shot from Yannick, and he does another one there and misses into the net. Again, if I was going to critique anything on Yannick, it would be that overuse of the forehand drop shot. Again, he's got a situation there where he can blast a forehand with a high likelihood of the ball going in, and he does a forehand drop shot and misses it. 15 love. Jodar backhand down the line, clips the net. Yannick a little too far away from the ball and shovels it long, 30 love. If Jodar can keep this set tight, you never know what can happen. This is tennis, right? Doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You get a set tight. You know, of course, Sinner is a clutch player. But that's where you want to be. You don't want Yannick to steamroll you right here. So you gotta work so hard and play it 1 point at a time. 30-15. Hello from Canada. Thank you. Appreciate it. And too much power from center, 30 all. From a mental standpoint, it can be quite overwhelming to think as a player that's in the situation that Jodar's in. If you tell yourself, I'm gonna win this set, you know, that's like so unlikely because like center's all over you. So if you tell yourself, I'm gonna keep this close, I'm just gonna go point by point, step by step, I'm just gonna take care of my serve and try my best on return, like give yourself a little bit less pressure. I think sometimes that can work better. You can play more freely. Big serve at 30 all down the tee from Rafa, 40-30. Do you think Dimitrov would have beaten Sinner in Wimbledon? What do you think happened to him that he has been losing lately? Well, exactly that. I think that injury derailed his career big time. That was a very severe injury. And big wide serve from Rafa, misses a backhand down the line, a little bit wide, but this much. Deuce, do you think he would have beaten Sinner in Wimbledon? I mean, he had a very good chance, but it's like Musetti against Djokovic in Australia. Like, you can't say 100%, right? Because Djokovic and Sinner, even when you're up 2-0 against them, it's not a guarantee that you're going to win the match. But are the chances higher? Yeah, of course. So we really don't know what would have happened. We can't have an answer for that. Sinner overcooks a forehand long. What I find so strange in this match is that I've praised Jodar's shape on the forehand, but the forehand has gone into the net so much today, and it also has clipped the net so much. Like, it clipped the net in this rally to his favor, but he doesn't have the proper shape. Like, towards the end of the second and even now in the second set, and not the usual shape from Rafa on the forehand that I'm normally seeing from him. A lot of net errors, a lot of net clippers. But nevertheless, add in. And a body blast. Sinner couldn't get out of the way. Rafa really ripped the forehand right down the center of the court. That's such a good target sometimes. And Sinner got handcuffed. 3-2 on serve in a second. I might be biased, but it seems Fonseca was a bigger challenge to Sinner. Sinner is mostly losing to himself because overcooking his shots, possibly because of the altitude. Look, the rankings never lie, right? So if we look at the rankings, Jodar and Fonseca are very similar. So I don't know if you can yet put one ahead of the other. I think their level is very similar. And their match actually proved that to a certain extent. Of course, Fonseca fell apart in that third set. So you could make an argument that maybe Rafa is a little bit better, but he's so fresh on the tour. We have to see how he does for the rest of the season. But just from a ranking standpoint and their junior careers, I think these are similar players and both have tremendous potential. But we have to be patient and just take it one step at a time with them and not make these incredible, like these predictions where it's the next big three and all that. You know, think about it. Like, Menchik won Miami last year, ATP 1000, which is so rare. Then the year before, Popyrin won the Canada Masters. Like, there's been other Masters winners. Ruud won Madrid last year. Draper won Indian Wells last year. Have any of these guys become a member of the new big three? Because they have Masters 1000 titles under their belt. And no, they haven't. So what it's going to take is multiple Masters titles, a slam, going consistently into the semifinals of slams. The only guy that can make a claim to be anywhere near that is Zverev. He's the only guy that has consistency in the results, where he's consistently making semis, Masters, semi-slams. Everybody else, far from that. Now, of course, Fonseca and Jodar are very young. So we have to wait for that level to show up. And it might take several years. Sinner overcooks a forehand, love 15. And I'm going to call this a mini window right here. I'm going to call the mini window, even though it's only love 15. I think this is an opportunity potentially for Jodar to put pressure on Sinner. Interesting. Jannik Sinner with a very good forehand cross court. Jodar barely gets to it, pops it up high, and Sinner misses the second overhead of the match. This time a bouncing overhead, and Darren Cahill is on his feet. And you know what that means. When Darren Cahill stands up, it means Jannik Sinner just did something really bad on the court. So I think he's going to reverse this really quickly. But yeah, that's a very, if you're a Sinner fan, when Darren Cahill is on his feet, Jannik is in trouble of some sort. Love 30. There's the forehand drop shot winner from Sinner. However, look at the court position. He was on the service line. Completely different from attempting one of these from behind the baseline. Very good shot selection. 15-30. Did you hear about Atman's mentality for his match against Sinner in Cincinnati, convincing himself that he was the favorite? If you don't go into a match against Sinner or Alcaraz to win, you have 0.0 chance to win. So you have to go in there to win, even if it's like completely delusional and unrealistic. Whoa. Maybe the best rally from Jodar this whole match, putting so much pressure on Sinner, really increasing the speed, taking the backhand early, hitting it more flat, and hits an incredible forehand down the line for a winner. 15-40, wow. 103 miles an hour forehand winner down the line. Wow. Here comes clutch Sinner. Can he save 2 break points? First serve into the net, second serve. Sinner demolishes a forehand inside out. First breakpoint saved, 30-40. Misses another first serve into the net, second serve Sinner. Huge opportunity for Jodar here. I think it's going to be kick serve. He's going to try to take the backhand return early. I can't believe this. So he doesn't do that. He doesn't take the backhand return early. He backs up, lets the ball drop. Not necessarily a negative play. It depends a little bit. Hits a good return. Sinner with the inside-out forehand drop shot. Not the greatest forehand drop shot, but then Jodar hits the backhand down the line, and Jannik Sinner with the defensive forehand lob in a continental grip, perfectly placed to save break point. Incredible. Wow. Back to deuce. Great rally from Jodar. He pulled the trigger there and missed the forehand down the line, which is a shot that he makes often. Again, something about his forehand this set is just slightly off. He misses it into the net. Add in. Yeah, that was a fantastic lob. That's a very difficult shot to pull off. A forehand lob and a continental grip requires a tremendous amount of stability in your hands and feel. Fantastic point from Yannick, even though he played that sitter forehand right into the racket of Jodar. He is so quick. He covers the court so well, Yannick Sinner. Nice hold here for Yannick. That was a tricky game down 15-40 and missing 2 first serves into the net and still saving those break points. Guys, this is why Yannick Sinner is Yannick Sinner. He's so clutch. He wins the important points. This is where another player maybe could have possibly gotten broken and complicated the match for himself, but Sinner gets through these tough moments, and that's why he's number 1. 3-all. Nice serve from Rafa, 15 love. If Sinner makes it to the final in Madrid, do you think it makes sense to do not play Rome and rest? You know, it depends. Beautiful backhand down the line. Jimmy Connor style from Jodar. He leans into it. 30 love. It depends. Let's say he has nightmare matches in the semis and finals, even though it's best of 3. Let's say he wins 7-6 in the third, and maybe he pulls out to rest. But if he's comfortably wins this tournament, or he loses or whatever, if he's didn't exert himself too much, there's no need to skip Rome. It's a very important tournament for him. Too much pressure from Sinner in this rally, dominating Rafa. Forehand inside in winner, 15-30. Loving the toe-to-toe blasting of ground strokes. Yeah. When these guys start speeding up the pace, it's really fun to watch. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate your comment. Thank you for watching. And Jodar, with the correct drop shot, from a tactical standpoint, he was inside the court, he was dictating play, but hits it cross court, which is a tricky dropper to pull off. And he misses it wide, 30-all. Again, I don't know why he did a drop shot there. See, another thing is, like, when the ball is very slow, or slower than normal, it's actually better off ripping the forehand. Drop shot works better when you get a little bit more pace. Huge serve out wide. Sinner overhits the return, 40-30. Yeah, there's no way Yannick Sinner is skipping Rome unless he has some physical problems that he sustains here in Madrid. He's going to 100% play in Rome. It's a very important tournament for him. Even if the conditions were different, it's in Rome, it's in Italy. He wants to win that. But yeah, the conditions in Rome, it just depends on the weather conditions at Roland Garros. Rome always was rated as the fastest clay court tournament until, of course, Madrid came around. but I think it depends a little bit on the weather there, which usually is pretty good. And those conditions for sure suit Yannick. So he's going to give himself chances to win Rome every year that he plays it, every single year. Wow. Deuce and a T ace from Jodar. Very timely. Add in. Jodar this set, 76% first serves. Serving well. Sinner's at 61. And Yannick goes for a down-the-line winner, but mishits it. Hold Jodar up 4-3 in the second. This match is tighter than it looks. I agree 100%. If this match turns out like, let's say Jodar loses the next 3 games, you know, you look at the score, you think it's like a destruction from Yannick, but it's far from it. That first set was actually tight in the beginning, very tight, and many things could have happened early. So the score is very misleading. And the second set is, of course, Jodar very close. He's very close. You just gotta stay. He's gotta stay with it. In my opinion, Rome is slower than RG. Clay on RG is perfect, while in Rome it can be a bit rough. Rome clay is usually very soft. If you look at the past champions of Rome, you will see that there are a lot of hardcore specialists who won Rome. I mean, Pete Sampras won Rome, okay? Agassi won Rome. Daniil Medvedev won Rome, who doesn't really like clay courts that much. So from what I've heard, I've never been to Rome and I've played on those courts, so I've just heard, so I could be wrong, I don't know, is that Rome plays faster and it's a harder surface, but I don't know, maybe they changed the surface, I have no idea, but historically speaking, it's always been the fastest clay court tournament prior to the Madrid tournament, because here, of course, we have the altitude, which changes things. 16 forehand errors from Sinner, not usual. Yeah, Sinner is not playing his top level. There's no doubt about that. He's not playing his top level, but Sinner, far away from his top level, still beats everyone, with the exception of Alcaraz. There may be some more exceptions, we don't know yet, but his game right now is still good enough to beat everyone, because he'll put it together when he needs it the most. He'll get out of these little tight spots. He's just very, very, very difficult to beat. That's why he's able to go on these rampages. Great return off a second serve from Jodar, 15-all. To be honest, Medvedev had a little bit of luck that year with all the main favorites lost or didn't participate due to injuries. No such thing as luck when you win a Grand Slam or a Masters 1000. Of course, you know, it can be different with the stars lose, but look, it's still a Masters 1000. If you can't play on clay, the chances of you winning a tournament like that are zero. So while players like Sampras, Medvedev, you know, they're not clay specialists by any means, the fact that they won that tournament in Rome shows that they can actually play quite well on clay, but, you know, it's a little bit dependent on the conditions. In Medvedev's case, I think he, you know, sometimes when you're self-deprecating in interviews, it can backfire. I don't think he's as bad on clay as he makes it out to be, as people make it out to be. Of course, his worst surface, I'm not saying it's not, but Wow, look at this. 15-40. Sinner's in trouble in this service game. Jodar with the phenomenal backhand down the line. And then a forehand inside in winner. Sinner is touching something in his back, kneeling down. He might be feeling some kind of discomfort. Huge moment right here for Rafa. What a way to save break point. Jannik just opens up on that forehand, lets it go. Rips it for a cross-court winner. 30-40, first break point saved. Let's see if Jannik can pull out a first serve right here. Okay. I was thinking for a second, maybe Jannik will do a drop shot there, but he didn't. He hit a incredible rally, so much pressure on Jodar. Jodar is running, hits a deep backhand down the line. Jodar chips it, and Jannik has that low half-court forehand that's so tricky and hits a beautiful inside-out topspin forehand winner. Saves both break points, and it's deuce. That's the thing about Sinner, it's so tough. He is so clutch, it's insane. Having said that, he hits a beautiful wide serve, has a sitter forehand that he overcooks long. Another break point for Jodar, add out. Jodar returns is exceptional in this game, yes. I agree. He's got a phenomenal return, Jodar. Phenomenal. Can you believe this? Another very poor forehand drop shot from Jannik Sinner. And Rafa comes up to it, hits the backhand cross court. And Jannik Sinner hits this incredible two-handed backhand, short angle, cross court winner right on the line. Unbelievable. What a point. Jannik is falling in love with that forehand dropper. He's pulling it out down break point. Insane. He shouldn't have won this point, though. That wasn't a good drop shot. Rafa should have won that point. He should have probably gone down the line with that backhand. Give Sinner less time. And that's too good from Jannik. T-blast, jumping, backhand, two-handed winner down the line, add in. You know, in that circumstance, off a poor drop shot, I think down the line would have been better for Jodar. First of all, less time for Sinner. And when you give Sinner an opening for a backhand down the line pass, not to say that it's a lot better on the forehand side, but that shot he hit so well with his eyes closed. To backhand down the line passing shot, best in the world from Sinner. Oh, what a crazy point. Insane. Wow. Rafa really covering the court exceptionally well. Getting to a lot of balls, making Sinner hit the extra shot. That was a spectacular point. First of all, the way he got that serve back, there was almost an ace. And then he hits the ball close to the side, not fence, but whatever, the side barrier. off a cross-court backhand from Yannick and gets a little bit lucky there with the left court, but he's a very good defensive player and a fighter. Very good from Jodar. Deuce. Rafa a little bit too far behind the baseline to go for down the line backhand like that. But it might have been a bad bounce. He swiped the clay away. We always have to take into consideration that when guys make a mistake that it could be a bad bounce, but on the flip side, a lot of times players will blame the clay when the clay had nothing to do with the mistake. But in any case, poor shot selection there from Rafa in center. First serve wide miss, second serve. Kick. I thought he might do kick, serve, and volley. This would have been one of these moments where kick, serve, and volley off a second serve, Baptiste style, would have maybe worked. But in any case, center holds 4-all. A very important game for Rafa coming up right here. You know Sinner is going to be putting the pressure to get the break. Sinner's down the line two-handed backhand is something else. He rips that so hard and he misses it so little, which is so incredible because normally it's a low percentage shot, but not for him. It's incredible. Out of all the shots from center, that's the one that fascinates me the most. This is two-handed backhand down the line. Absolutely incredible. That's a loose error right there from the middle of the court. He sprays a backhand long, low 15. That's a very poor start to the game. His forehand is poor today, mate. Mazza, Aussie, Italian. Yeah, you're talking about Rafa? Yeah, I agree. Not in the beginning, but towards the end of the second half of the first set, and some portions in the second set, there were these weird net errors on the forehand from Rafa. Second loose error on the backhand, again from the middle of the court. This is danger time right here. His dad is telling him to pump himself up. Yeah, he's playing with fire right here. The match could be over in like, 4 minutes. First serve miss. Huge opportunity for Yannick right here, second serve. Got fortunate there, hit a very deep ball. I don't know if it was meant to be deep from Rafa. It looked a little bit like a mishit, but in any case, Yannick hits a forehand to the net, 30-15. Needs a first serve badly right here. Thank you, Mazza. I appreciate it. Sinner's forehand isn't great today. Yeah, I agree. Both of these guys' forehand is like a lot of net errors. It's so weird. Maybe the court is not that good. Maybe it's bad bounces. Like I always see these guys staring at the court and wiping stuff down. Who knows? It's really weird. Maybe it's the altitude. Sinner's fortunate. I wouldn't call that a forehand drop shot from Sinner inside out. It was almost like a side swiping forehand slice, but he got fortunate because the ball hit the line and literally went like this. Jodar couldn't control it. Wide open court, forehand cross-court winner for Sinner, 15-40. Okay, he's ripping the second serve return harder than in previous matches today against Jodar. Okay, interesting. For sure, putting a lot of pressure on the youngster. Speaking of dumping forehands into the net, there's another one from Sinner off a second serve. 30-40, 1 breakpoint saved. Could Sinner's loss of rhythm on his serve during matches be mental? Yeah, for sure it can be mental, yeah. Anything in tennis can be mental, for sure, yeah. It's weird on the serve. Wow, that's a big serve from Jodar. Saves 2 break points. He needs to get out of this game, obviously. Well, it's interesting you say, Coach, why is Jannik missing second serve forehand return so much today? It looks like he lacks forward momentum. You know, hold on 1 second. Let me look something up. For sure, there was not a good bounce, but an insanely deep and heavy return from Sinner, like this close to the baseline. Rafa frames it. Another break point for Sinner, add out. Let me see something right here. Let me see here. Second serve return points won. Jannik Sinner 38%. Jodar 36%. Breakpoint safe from Jodar. Deuce. Sometimes stats can be misleading. They put a stat up showing that the Sinner is hitting it harder, but I don't necessarily see that he's doing that great on the second return, second serve return. So again, I don't think this is Sinner's top level. I think it's a little bit up and down today. I know it's weird saying that, but that's actually a compliment to Jannik, how good he is. He can for sure play better than he is. But in any case, let's focus on this game. Amazing two-handed backhand down the line, more of an inside-out backhand from Jodar. In my analysis about his backhand, I said he hits it a couple of different ways. That was more like a Jimmy Connors style, a redirectory backhand. Add in. Missed that first serve. Second serve. Wow, the heaviness on that center forehand. Did you guys see that? Great camera angle. You can see the shape of the ball. And it was also ripped. And Rafa couldn't control it. Back to deuce. From a technical point, why is Sinner missing those second serve forehand returns into the net? You know, that's a very difficult question to answer without having slow-mo footage from the side and the rear to be able to see. It's very hard to say, but from a tactical standpoint, maybe it's going too hard and too low of a trajectory. He needs to just shape it in. But why exactly he is missing? Like right there, it's so hard to say. I mean, I wouldn't want to make something up again. I would need like really good camera footage, but just from feel, maybe he decelerated a little bit there. Maybe he was jammed a little bit. I would have to rewatch that forehand and take a look, and I'll be able to give you a better answer. But for sure, yeah, both guys missing a lot of forehands into the net. It's really strange. Add in Jodar. It's unbelievable that Rafa got out of this game and is pumping the crowd up. He's going like that. I can't believe he got out of this game. Sinner is going to be kicking himself because it's not like Jodar played that amazing tennis to win this game. Sinner gave quite a few gifts in this game. And It's really strange. Jodar 1 game away from the second set. A bit of frustration on Sinner's face. I agree 100%. Guys, excuse me 1 second. I'm working on having a be right back screen on my thing, but I'll be right back. Okay? Stay tuned. This is an exciting match. Yeah, this match is very, very exciting. This is a great match. Sinner's level has not been great. Also look frustrated. I'm talking without a mic. Okay, I'll be right back. I don't think I missed anything. Hope the cat is all right. Yeah, cat is all good. Here comes Simone. Prefer the backhand dropper over the forehand dropper from Sinner by a lot. The backhand cross-court drop shot winner, 15 love. Like, it's obvious that he has more feel on that side. Uncharacteristic backhand error from Jodar. He really sprayed that cross court. 30 love. Streaming a live tennis match must be tricky. Yeah, I started doing it very recently. The first one I streamed was Fernandez Ayala in Stuttgart. It's not easy, but I plan to continue to do it and continue to work on getting better and improving the presentation as well with some, make a more professional setup and all that. So I'm working on all that because it's quite fun actually to be here with you guys and to watch these matches and share my commentary. Big serve from Sinner down the tee, 40 love. Wow. This is what you call a frozen rope return from Jodar. Let's watch this on replay. Wow. What a return winner down the line off a big serve from Yannick, 40-15. Sinner really finding his serve in this game. And think about it, guys. We're just watching here. Okay, Sinner held 5-all, but he's serving to stay in the second set, and he just delivered maybe his best service game of the match. It's these little nuanced things that are the reason why he's #1 in the world. When it matters the most, he finds his best tennis. And better believe it, he's going to try to play a better return game here than he did when it was 4-all. Even though he had chances in that one, you can expect center to try to do damage right here. Misses a forehand there off a center return that wasn't quite deep enough, and Rafa was able to rip a forehand and put pressure on Jannik, and that produced that mistake. 15 love. $30 love, return error from Jannik off a big first serve. Nick, do you think Jodar will win this set? It's so hard to say. I don't think so. I really don't think so. But obviously it's 5-all, 30 love. You know, he's very close, but still. Not easy to take a set off Jannik. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you, man. Jannik takes that second serve early. Jodar overcooks the backhand, misses the cross court. 30-15. Thank you, DB Sam. Appreciate it. Okay, Rafa, better be careful here. It's 30-15, but misses the first serve, second serve. You know, Jannik is going to try something here. I'm telling you guys, I think there are bad bounces on this court. Guys are always staring down at the court, which is something normal for tennis players. Like, you know, I do this a lot when I play on clay, I'm always staring down and blaming the court. But I'm telling you, there's something with this court. It could explain some of these weird errors. In any case, Rafa hitting the ball very strong and drawing some of the errors from Jannik. 40-15. Very poor backhand drop shot from Rafa off his backhand. Jannik with the very easy open court forehand winner. It's not in the options, but Jodar's best shot is hyping up the crowd to get loud. I don't know about that, Andrea. I think maybe. I don't know about the hyping up the crowd. Phenomenal hold from Rafa right here, up 6-5. I certainly can help, but I'm not the biggest fan of players like doing one of these and doing this. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I never was. I've made videos on this before. I've criticized Alcaraz when he first came on tour. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but certainly the crowd can help you. That's true, but still, I think when you start getting into that type of stuff, you start kind of playing for the crowd. It's a dangerous thing to do. It can be a slippery slope, especially when it comes to these shot makers, you know, when somebody pulls off something crazy on the court and they go like this and stuff. So they're looking to please the crowd. It's a dangerous thing to do. The crowd will erupt on their own. You don't need to hype anything up. They're just going to do that naturally, especially if you're playing at home. There's no need to do this or this ever, not a single time in a match. So call me old school, but I'm not a big fan of that. And I don't mind criticizing Alcaraz for it, because when he came on tour, he was the one that really did that a lot. But everyone does it. Djokovic does it, Sinner does it. They all do it now. It's become the norm. But I'm not a fan of it. Because again, the crowd will do what they're asking them to do without them requesting it. Do you think Rune will play RG? Yes, I think so. He's going to play Hamburg, which is the week after Rome, which is an insanely fast comeback. I hope that he's 100% ready to come back, because I'm a big believer in Holger Rune, big believer in him. but that's such a brutal injury, and I always hear it's like 9 months, 9 months, 9 months, and he's coming back way before 9 months because he got hurt in Stockholm, which was when? Was that November, I think, or no, maybe October? So it's, yeah, I don't know. It's like 6 months. It's insane. If it's 6 months, I'm not sure. Big wide serve from Yannick, 15 love. So I hope he's going to be okay because we need Holga. We need Holga in the game. We need him. Another big serve from Yannick, 30 love. I'll be shocked if he plays RG. He will probably realize after the first tournament back that he's not healthy enough. I don't know. That's definitely the worst injury ever. I'd be so careful. I'm sure he's testing it and playing some matches, but it's of course completely different when you play an actual tournament match. But yeah, wish nothing but the best for Holga. Humongous T serve from Yannick, 40 love. I want you guys to pay attention to how Yannick Sinner is serving when he's serving to stay in the set. You guys see this? It's truly remarkable. His best 2 service games of the entire match came when he was in danger of losing the set, serving to stay in the set. Look at the service game. Love hold, absolutely perfect. And we're in a second set tiebreak. So what you can expect is that now that we're in a tiebreak, most likely Yannick is going to continue to serve like this, which makes it so difficult for everyone, including Alcaraz, to find an answer against this guy right now. Let's see what's coming, like Yannick says. Let's see what's coming in this one. Statement point right here from Yannick. Second serve, he takes it early. He's close to the baseline, rips it. Immediate pressure on Rafa, and he mishandles a backhand. He misses it wide. Goes down the line, misses it wide. 1-0 Sinner. What do you think about the optimal height of a tennis player? I know the exact answer for that. For the men, it's 6'2". You can go 1 up or 1 down, 6'3", 6'1", but 6'2", and for women it's 5'9". Again, you can go 1 up, 1 down. Yes, optimal height for male tennis players is 6'2", and that will never change because the dimensions of the tennis court will never change. So just look at who's at the top of the game in the last 30, 40 years. Look at the height of those players, and you'll see it's going to be around 6'2". And on the women, it's going to be around 5'9". 2-0 Sinner. This is so interesting. 3-0 Sinner. Big serve. Jodar misses a backhand return. There was a really good comment. Hold on. Sinner winning the drop shot. It shows you need to practice it. I could be proven wrong, right? So Sinner made that drop shot, forehand drop shot that on his serve at 1 love, and you're saying he practiced it the whole match? That's not how it works. He put himself in a hole with those drop shots a few times in this match. You don't want to practice those in a match, but you make a point that if you were going to use it, like the fact that you've already done it in the match, feel a little better about it than pulling it off for the first time in a match in a tiebreak. You could see it that way. But my point still stands. If you were going to criticize Yannick's game, the one shot that can be better is the forehand drop shot. I stand by my statement. Another mini break for Sinner, 4 love. And you guys notice this, what's happening right here? How this guy now, Sinner, is like flawless in his game. It's truly remarkable to watch. Second serve. DB says 6 consecutive first serve in center. Yeah, incredible. He's just refusing to miss right now, and he's ripping and not missing. Another mini break for Sinner. It's 3 mini breaks. He's got the tiebreak on his racket now to win it 7-0. It's incredibly clutch what's happening. It's just the reason why this guy is the #1 player in the world on this absolute rampage at the Masters level, winning these consecutive matches, you know, most of them in straight sets, other than the Mahaj match in Monte Carlo. It's so difficult to win a single set off of Sinner. It's unbelievable. Another mistake from Jodar, 6-0 in the tiebreak, misses the forehand long. Because, you know, the tricky thing with Sinner is that in 2024, 2025, there were a lot of matches that he was winning like very, very easily. At Masters, even at Grand Slams, like 2-2, 2-1. But this year particularly, there have been some crappy matches from Sinner. Even in this tournament, for example, the Nori match, right? Like, he hasn't always been perfect. Even those tournaments, Indian Wells and Miami. But when it came down to the clutch moments, that's where the best version of Yannick showed up. Even in Monte Carlo, you can make that claim. Even in the final, nearly at his best. But still, when it matters the most, this guy shows up. That's like completely refusing to miss and playing very aggressive. And quite frankly, that makes him close to unbeatable right now. (7-0) tiebreak from Sinner. It's unbelievable, guys, to witness this. Unbelievable. You know, Rafa put himself in a position where it was 1 game away from the set, right? Up 5-4, then up 6-5, and Sinner found the best tennis of the entire match in those moments. Can you believe that? It's truly the sign of a great champion, the sign of a GOAT, and we're talking about the GOAT level. Not saying that Sinner is the GOAT, but Simone stopped that. Hold on 1 second, guys. I'll continue with this in a second. Simone's doing something really bad over here. Come on, stop it. You're going to break that. You're going to break that. Come on, stop. Stop. Go over here. You're going to break that. Come over here. You stay over here now. Come on. Here. Stay here. And sleep. Where'd my mic go? Oh, it's clipped. Lost my train of thought right now, but what was I saying? Yeah, with Sinner, the fact that he's clutch, I think. Anyway, look. To be able to pull off your best tennis when you need it the most is truly something that's the sign of a GOAT level player. And that's what makes Sinner so incredibly difficult to beat at these moments. And prior to the tournament starting, I had picked Feast as the guy that's going to be a tough challenge for Sinner in this tournament. So let's see, first and foremost, if Feast can beat Lehečka. I'm not sure about that. That's going to be a super tricky match. And I do think that Feast probably got better chances to take out Sinner than Lehečka, because he brings that incredible heaviness to his strokes and the firepower. So we'll see if Feast can do it. It's highly doubtful that he can, because you know, Sinner can raise his level from this, what we saw today. He can play a lot better than he did. As insane as this sounds, he's like not at his best, or hasn't been at his best through big portions of this year. And I know it sounds insane, but I do believe this is true. Sinner can play even more dominant, even more consistent. That's what it is. It's incredible. You know, what I find very interesting in this part of the season without Alcaraz is who will come through from the other guys? Who will step up? You know? Is it Zverev? How about Koboli? He's in the mix. You know? Feast, can he do it? I think there's a lot of storylines that can be written this clay court season, guys. 540 people in here. That's almost Monte Carlo numbers, guys. Thank you for joining the live. I really appreciate you guys. 7-0 tiebreak is quite rare, right? It's so incredibly rare. Let me finish off, actually. This is not a question, but I'm just going to finish off with that's a good question. I'll answer that. With Rafa Jodar, I think he showed his level in this match. He was able to push Sinner into a tiebreak. It's a phenomenal result for him. First time he's ever played Sinner. It's a learning experience for him. I think he is the future, but just like Fonseca, you know, when I discuss Jodar, I'm going to take it one step at a time. I'm not going to hype him up, but for sure, the guy has incredible potential, but we have to be careful and just observe. We haven't seen enough yet, but what we have seen so far is very promising. Someone asked, boss, when can we finally get the sim videos? We are so hungry. You know what happened? We were going to record on the last 3 Tuesdays because she has a problem on her serve, and I want to help her with that problem. And we got rained out on 3 consecutive Tuesdays because the weather has been so bad here over the last month or so. And then we had it scheduled for last week, but she had to cancel because she hurt her wrist. So whenever she gets healthy, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna post it sometime. I don't know when, but we're gonna post it sometime. All right, let me get through one more question, and I'm gonna log off of here, guys. Hi Monique, I'm glad you could make it in. Are you gonna stream the Feast Lehechka match? I don't know yet. I might. Let me see. I've got a couple of things that I'm doing. I don't know if I can do multiple streams per day with matches. I'll see. I don't know yet. I'll definitely will try to stream the final for sure. I'll promise that. The final of Monte Carlo I will stream for sure. And possibly the semifinal, but I'm still like playing around with it and try to optimize this, whatever I'm doing on here. You know, it's not so easy, but I'm still working it out. I'm sorry, I should know this, but where are you from? I'm from Split, Croatia. But I grew up in Germany. All right, guys. Wow, a lot of you in here now. It's crazy. Okay, it's under 400 now, but under 500, 492. But it was like went up to like five something, which is surprising. So anyway, guys, thank you for joining my live stream. We're gonna do it again. I'm not quite sure whether I'm gonna do the second quarterfinal today or not, but for sure I'll be back here. And later on today, I will release an analysis of the whole day, including a very entertaining match between Potapova and the ace queen. Do you realize Potapova took out the current ace queen, and she took out the actual ace queen consecutively, not consecutively, but almost consecutively in the same tournament, nevertheless. So I love covering WTA, but you know, yesterday, for example, I had like probably 20 minutes that I cut out of my video that was WTA because I want to make those videos as compact as possible. But in today's video, I will discuss WTA matches. I will discuss this match, give you an analysis of it, and the next one. So tune in later to Intuitive Tennis. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit like on everything. If you want to support Intuitive Tennis, or if you want premium content, discounts on private coaching, subscribe to intuitivetennis.com. Available on, you know, your favorite browser, or you can get Intuitive Tennis in the iOS App Store. All right, guys, I will see you in the next one. You take care, okay?